Understanding what is happening can be difficult, and often more difficult is understanding why it's happening. There's an established theory by Max Weber or Weber, depending on whether you want to say his name in the Germanic way or not, which is Verstehen, which translated means understand, and then it goes on to Verstehen ich, which is understanding the I. And the theory, the basis of it really is that you'll always be able to understand the what, but you'll never be able to understand the why. Because even if you ask the person why they did something, they could be lying to you. So then, even having that first-hand, first-person evidence, to some extent you can't trust it. So therefore, why will never ever really be understood. But if you put too much credence in someone because they're established, and then you uphold everything they say as true, then you'd believe anything. For instance, smoking doesn't cause cancer, heroin isn't addictive, thalidomide doesn't cause birth defects, all sorts of ways in which we're lied to, and because we uphold those people as government, scientists, professors, the media, whatever, we then dismiss anything that stands against it and we uphold their lies. So it's always good to question and test and work out whether something's true. But irrespective of the why, and even if you can work out why and you do work out why, the what will still stand as reality. But people don't want to accept the what. That is one of the problems. And specifically, like with autistic people, they will say exactly what they mean. You know, there's this ability just to say it as it is. There's no what are you trying to say, there's just what is. I'll just give you an example. But I phone the place I'm getting therapy and I ask, what is the protocol and procedure for changing therapists? You see, that's all I need to know. But every time people seem to get the wrong end of the stick of what I'm saying. Now, for instance, I'm talking to a guy, I must have said it 3 or 4 times. What is the protocol and procedure for changing therapists? And then he's just writing down my name, he's making notes, he goes, and do you want to switch therapists? No. I didn't say I want to switch therapists. At no point did I say I want to switch therapists, and I wouldn't have said switch, I would have said change. What I said, what I've asked, what I need are the exact words that I said. What is the protocol and procedure for changing therapists? That is the information I need to know. That is the answer I need to get. That is the question I am asking. It really is that simple. But people have to overcomplicate things. They have to turn it into something else. What do you mean? Why did you say this, that, the other, and go off into their assumptions? Or they don't even ask those questions. They just have an assumption and assume that their assumption is right. And it just causes frustration. So you see, that's what is happening. The what there. I've asked a question, and what happened was that person made an assumption, and they upheld that assumption and made that the most important thing. They didn't even check to clarify, didn't do anything, they were just so sure of their assumptions. Well, then there's reasons why that happens. For instance, some people, they don't have the intelligence to understand what you're saying and actually understand it. There's other people who do have intelligence, but they're within a specific role, and what you've said goes beyond their role, so they can only align it to the context that they understand. And then there are some people who will deliberately mess it up. You know, it's the same what, the communication's gone wrong and the person's come to the wrong conclusion. It's exactly the same what, whatever the reason why. Now, trying to explain to someone what they've done wrong in that situation, what they've got wrong, what they've misunderstood, just leads them down that path of don't blame me, and they try and make it something wrong that you've said. But if I've said the same thing 5 times, exactly the same, and I'm not going to change what I'm saying, and what I've said hasn't changed, and I still need to know what the protocol and procedure for changing therapist is, and I'm still not getting that information, I've still got to ask that question. It don't matter what other questions you answer. If you're not answering directly the question I've asked, then we're not going to make progress. It's that simple. But there's been so many situations in my life surrounded by people who are bad-minded, putting it short form. They are bad-minded. They deliberately get things wrong to create frustration, to debilitate you, to degrade you, to keep you on the spot, isolated and unable to function. And the reason why isn't so significant to understanding the what. So I can understand the what. I've seen the what to its fullest extreme. I know the what. I know how to recognise the what. I understand the what. And the why doesn't matter. The other person needs to grasp the what. They need to understand what is happening, what was asked, what the outcome is. But no matter how much you try to explain that, they won't want to understand. But then if you use examples that clearly show that someone is failing to understand, and you can prove why they're failing to understand, then that person will think that you're accusing them of behaving that way. So if someone is just too dumb to get it, but you use an example of someone deliberately doing it that way to torture you, then they'll think you're accusing them of torturing you. But when they're intelligent enough to understand, they fully understand English, you've repeated it over and over again, and you keep on explaining what it is you're actually saying, and they still fail to understand, it still causes me frustration. It's that simple. And then it is sort of on the level of someone doing it deliberately to cause the frustration. Because if I've asked a clear question, what is the protocol and procedure for changing therapists? Because what I want to know is the protocol and procedure for changing therapists. So therefore the only thing I can say is what is the protocol and procedure for changing therapists. The only thing you need to answer is what is the protocol and procedure for changing therapists. And they still can't get it, even though it's that simple. Literally that simple. It's right there, it's all in front of them. And they still fail to understand it. Well, then you've made them aware. So they can ignore what you're saying and ignore you, and keep on failing. Well, once you've made them aware of the reality and they understand the reality, then they are doing it on purpose. You can only get it wrong on purpose if you know what is right. Once you've been shown what is right, told what is right, the right way has been explained to you, you've been shown the right way. The right way is you listen to exactly what I'm saying and you answer exactly what I'm saying, instead of creating an assumption and talking to that. Well, the fact that you still continue with an assumption after I've repeated the question 3 times, I made it clear to you that that is the question I'm asking, and you still can't understand that that is the question I'm asking. That's got to be deliberate. It's that simple. It really is that simple, and I don't see why people can't understand it. But in that sort of a situation, if you are dealing with a therapist and you see that that is what they are doing, any example you use from your past to explain that you are capable of seeing the what, and you are even capable of understanding why, they will then think that you're accusing them of doing that. And it's like, they just go all round the houses, literally all round the houses, to get nowhere. Because the only thing that's going to solve the situation is to have the information that you've requested. That is the solution, that is the resolution, that is the cure. If I ask for that information, you give me that information, the problem's solved. So then the problem is on their side. I have every right to ask the question. I have every right to an answer. They have the responsibility to give me the information. So the fact that that hasn't happened, the problem is on their side. But they don't want to accept that, they don't want to see that, they don't want to take that on board. So again, you're blaming them, aren't you? It's just this constant process of how they want to label you in some way. You're blaming them, so you're not taking responsibility. You're misjudging it based on your past experiences, and they just go through this long circle of label and blame. But the reality is they are failing to understand the most basic, simple questions. And it's not right that you do that to people. If you're a carer or someone in your life close to you is autistic, they do function in that way, then don't frustrate them. Don't do it on purpose. Just, you answer the question and it goes away. But that's the problem with dealing with people's emotions. Their emotions then relate to them being in trouble or trying to get themselves out of trouble. Oh no, you've spotted that. Well, yeah, I've spotted that, so if we just discuss it, I'll accept that it's there. It's that simple, but people don't want to deal with things in simple terms. But then they'll blame me. They'll blame me for being awkward. They'll blame me for being complicated. Oh, you're too deep, you're overthinking. I don't overthink. My brain just does it like that. For you to think what I think, for you to work out what I've worked out, would be an extreme level of thought that you can't even comprehend. Well, that's your incapability, not mine. So why don't you deal with your incapability? I'm not overthinking at all. Your real problem is that I'm too capable of thinking clearly. I didn't have to put the effort into it. I didn't sit there and stew on it. I didn't sit there and obsess over it. My brain just done it for me and showed me the answer. It's right there in front of me. Like, the 9 times table is 9, 18, 27, 36, 45, 54, 63, 72, 81, 90. Now you might think I've just read that off of a piece of paper, but I haven't. I've got it projected there. It's like it's in front of my eyes. The only reason it can be in front of my eyes is because it sits in my brain. It's there. How can I not see it for what it is? How can I not tell you that? My brain just put it there for me. I didn't have to think it. I didn't have to make any effort for the thought to happen. So how can I be overthinking things? How am I overcomplicating things? Why can't you ask yourself why you're incapable of thinking? Why can't you ask yourself why you're incapable of holding information? Why can't you ask yourself why you're incapable of taking on board the information as it is and holding it as it is? It's like if you spell your name out to someone and then they write it down wrong, and you point out they've got it wrong, and you spell it again and they write it wrong again, and they keep on writing it wrong. You'd have to accept they're stupid. So when you ask a question and the person keeps answering the question they think you've asked, they're getting it wrong. How can they not just take it in as the words that you've said? It's beyond me to understand your inability to function in reality, your inability to listen to words, understand those words, and reply to those words. It's stupidity. And you're either not intelligent enough or you're doing it on purpose. Everyone will have a different reason why, but that's what it comes down to. You're either incapable or you're doing it deliberately. How can I respect either of those people as someone who's going to listen to me and help me? Because if you're incapable of taking it in, then you're incapable of helping me. And if you're deliberately going to treat me that way, then you're in no position to help me. So how is that my mistrust? How is that my paranoia? How? When you're proving I cannot trust you. I cannot trust you to listen to what I say. I cannot trust you to give me an answer. I cannot trust you to deal with reality. I can't trust you to stop, Clear your mind of whatever you're assuming, listen to what I'm saying for another time and see if you can get it right. You'll just continue to get it wrong. And when I've had so many people deliberately, mentally and emotionally harm me over the years, why should I then accept that behaviour, that level of treatment, from the people who are meant to be put there to help me? People who sign a contract that they're going to deliver care. They take on board their duty of care, and then they fail in their duty of care. If I tell them and I make them aware that causing me frustration is a harmful process, and I keep pointing out that they're causing me frustration, why can't they then accept that they are harming me? Why can't they accept that the process they're carrying out has become harmful? What is their problem with that? Because all they've got to do is stop doing it. And then it's solved, isn't it? Now they're not harming me. But then I'm going to ask why they did that, so I can understand why they did that, and then we can discuss whether it's necessary to do that again. If there's a point to it, and I can understand that point, and that point makes rational, logical sense, then I'll accept the fact that it's going to happen. But when they can't give me any kind of an explanation, they can't tell me why, they can't make any logical sense, they just want to deny that they've done it. How can I then trust that person? How can I work with that person? How does that person actually care about me? It's like they have signs up in medical places now: we care, we respect, we are inclusive. Well, if you care about me, then listen to me and work with me. Respect what I'm actually saying and include me in the process. If you're not giving me feedback, if you're not giving me the answers, how are you including me? If you're not listening to what I'm actually saying, how are you being inclusive? How are you respecting? How are you caring? They're just slogans that you print on your posters. They're just slogans that you print on your letters. Why are you printing them if you can't uphold them? Because it makes you look good. Is that all it is? Some pretense? Some fantasy game of let's pretend, where you run around acting like children, and every chance you have to be a grown-up, every chance you have to be an adult, every chance you have to accept your own behaviours and look at those behaviours and work out why those behaviours are inappropriate for dealing with someone. You don't want that chance. You don't want that opportunity. You want to just carry on doing it without being questioned, without being hindered, without being stopped. Well, then you must be getting some satisfaction out of it. But what is your satisfaction? If your satisfaction is getting the answers you require, and you're carrying out that process and you're putting me in a state where I'm too frustrated to answer, then you're not getting the satisfaction of the answers, you're not getting the fulfillment of getting to a conclusion. All you're getting the satisfaction and fulfillment from is sitting there pressing that button, deliberately frustrating me by failing to understand the words I say. And then I'm meant to respect you. Please just let people speak, listen to what they've said, and if they say you don't understand, just pause, clear your mind, and ask them to say it again, and make a genuine effort to say the exact words they said to yourself, and then work out the reply to those exact words they have said.